The twin suns of Valora Prime rose high above the royal palace, their light shining through tall crystal towers. Inside the great hall, hundreds of alien nobles gathered to witness the most important event in galactic history, the peace oath between the Valoran Empire and the Human Alliance. The hall glowed with silver lights, music played softly in the air, and guards stood tall on every side. Among them was a single human, Sergeant Daniel Cross, the only Earthborn guard in the court. Daniel had served on many alien worlds, but nothing compared to this moment. It was rare for a human to stand in such a royal place, yet Princess Alara herself had chosen him for this duty. She trusted him, not for his strength, but because she believed humans had something different in their hearts. Daniel respected her deeply. She was kind to everyone, even those who didn't deserve it. Many aliens saw humans as rough or emotional, but Alara always saw more. When the royal family entered the court, everyone bowed. Princess Alara walked with calm grace. Her long gown shimmered like liquid starlight. She smiled softly at the gathered nobles, then at Daniel. It was a small glance, but he noticed it. For weeks she had seemed tired, distracted, as if something troubled her. He had wanted to ask, but duty kept him silent. As the court quieted, the High Chancellor began to speak about the treaty. The moment was supposed to mark the end of years of war. Yet just as Alara stepped forward to offer her hand for the oath, something strange happened. Her smile faded, her body trembled. Then before anyone could move, she collapsed. The hall went silent. Her golden crown rolled across the floor, stopping at Daniel's feet. The Queen cried out. Guards rushed forward. Daniel dropped to his knees beside her, checking her pulse. She was breathing but weak. Her skin had lost its glow, a bad sign for Velorans. He leaned close, whispering her name. Her eyes opened for a second. In a soft, broken voice, she whispered one short phrase, words only Daniel could hear. They know. Then she went still again. Daniel froze. The words echoed in his mind. They know, but who? What did she mean? He looked around quickly. The nobles were shouting. Some accused humans, others blamed the rival houses. The Queen ordered the medics to carry Alara to the healing chambers. Daniel tried to follow, but the alien Captain Krith blocked him. You stay here, human, the captain hissed. No one leaves until we find the cause. Daniel clenched his jaw but obeyed. He stayed still as the medics carried Alara away. His mind raced. He remembered how uneasy she had been lately. She had mentioned being watched, though she never said by whom. Now she had fallen in front of everyone. It couldn't be a simple fainting spell. He had seen poison victims before. He had seen soldiers collapse in battle. This was different. Silent, planned, precise. The hall emptied slowly. Ministers whispered, blaming each other. The peace ceremony was ruined. Across the galaxy, news would spread within minutes. The Princess of Valora collapses during treaty. Every eye would turn toward the humans. Daniel knew that soon they might be accused. He looked around quietly, studying every face. The High Chancellor glanced at him once, cold, sharp, full of hidden meaning. Daniel didn't trust him. The Chancellor had always been against the treaty, saying humans were too unpredictable. Maybe this was his doing, but Daniel needed proof. As he stood in silence, a faint glimmer caught his eye near the throne. He took one careful step closer. His helmet visor scanned the floor, and there it was, a faint energy trail. To normalize, it was invisible, but Daniel's human implants detected the heat pattern. It wasn't Valoran energy. It came from human tech, a kind of nanite radiation used in covert tools. His heart pounded. Why would human tech be used here, in this court? If the aliens found out, they would think humans attacked the princess. But Daniel knew that couldn't be true. He had worked with the Human Alliance long enough to know no one would dare such a thing. Someone was trying to frame them. He took a slow breath. Ilara's last words, "They know," echoed again. Who were they? What did they know? Daniel looked at the empty throne, then at the heavy doors where the princess had been taken away. He didn't have answers yet, but one thing was clear. This was no accident. Someone had planned it carefully. Someone inside the royal court wanted chaos. And Daniel Cross, the only human guard in the palace, was now the only one who could uncover the truth. The palace was silent after the court was cleared. Only the sound of distant alarms echoed through the tall halls. Daniel stood still, his eyes fixed on the grand door where Princess Alara had been carried away. His thoughts were heavy, circling around the same few words. They know. Those words were not random. She had whispered them for a reason, and now it was his duty to find out why. 2 alien guards moved past him, speaking in low voices. Their glowing eyes shifted toward Daniel with suspicion. He could feel the tension in the air. To many of them, he was already a suspect. A human standing near a fallen princess, and it was too easy for them to blame him. He had to be careful. Captain Krith approached, towering over him. The insectoid guard's metallic voice vibrated with anger. "Human," Krith said sharply. "You were closest to her. Tell me what you did." Daniel looked straight at him. "I didn't do anything. She just fell. I tried to help." Krith's mandibles clicked. "Do not lie. The Queen demands answers. If the princess dies, your kind will answer for it." Daniel took a calm breath. "Then let me help find out what happened. If I wanted harm, I would not have tried to save her." Krith glared for a long moment, then turned away. "You are not to leave the palace. Guards will watch you. If you move without permission, you will be detained." Daniel nodded, saying nothing. He had learned long ago that arguing with alien officers never helped. Still, his mind was already working. He needed proof, something that could show what really happened. The faint radiation trail he found earlier was his first clue. If he could trace it, he might uncover the source. Once the captain left, Daniel activated his visor quietly. A soft light flickered before his eyes, showing hidden energy lines across the marble floor. The strange glow led out of the court and down one of the side halls. He followed slowly, careful not to draw attention. The corridor was empty and cold. The light from his visor showed the path clearly, the same type of human tech radiation. It stopped near a small door marked for servants. Daniel opened it and stepped inside. The narrow passage led to a hidden maintenance room filled with wires, energy conduits, and cleaning drones. He scanned the walls. In the corner, he saw something odd, a small metallic chip half buried in the dust. It was no bigger than a coin, but Daniel recognized it immediately. It was a signal beacon, a device used by human agents for short-range communication. He picked it up carefully, turning it in his hand. The markings were scratched off, but the design was familiar. Someone had used this to send or receive a signal inside the palace. That meant whoever caused the collapse had planned it with human tools, but maybe not humans themselves. Many alien groups in the galaxy traded in human tech. It could have been anyone trying to frame them. He pocketed the device and turned off his visor. As he did, a soft sound came from the hall outside and footsteps. Daniel froze. Someone was coming. He hid behind a tall crate, holding his breath. The door slid open quietly and a figure entered. It was Chancellor Varen, the same man who had looked at him suspiciously earlier. The Chancellor's long robe brushed the floor as he walked in, looking around quickly. Then, to Daniel's surprise, he pulled out a small communicator, the same type as the beacon Daniel found. Varen whispered something in his alien tongue. The device flashed once, then he hid it in his sleeve and left the room. Daniel waited a few seconds before stepping out. His suspicion grew stronger. The Chancellor had no reason to be here, especially not after the court was locked down. He was hiding something. As Daniel slipped out of the side room, 2 guards saw him. "Human, you are not allowed here," one of them shouted. Daniel lifted his hands. "I was looking for water. The air here is dry." The guards frowned, unsure if they should believe him. After a moment, one waved him off. "Return to your post. Do not wander again." Daniel nodded quickly and walked back toward the main court. His heart was beating fast. Now he had 2 clues, the beacon and the Chancellor's secret meeting. He couldn't reveal them yet. No one would believe a human. But he knew the truth was close. He looked up at the tall crystal windows where the suns were setting. The peace treaty that was May to unite 2 great civilizations now hung by a thread. Princess Alara was fighting for her life in the healing chambers, and the court was filled with suspicion. Daniel made a silent promise. He would not let her fall without justice. She had trusted him for a reason. Somewhere in this palace, someone had tried to destroy everything she stood for. And before this day ended, Daniel Cross swore he would find out who. Daniel spent the next few hours under watch. 2 guards followed him wherever he went. He kept his face calm, but his mind never stopped working. He needed to find a way to reach the healing chambers and check on the princess. If Ilara was awake, she might tell him more about what she meant by "they know." He walked quietly through the long golden corridors of the palace. The glowing floor reflected the lights above, and strange alien art covered the walls. Daniel had seen many worlds, but Valora Prime was different, elegant and full of secrets. Every step echoed softly, reminding him he didn't belong there. At one corner, a young servant passed by carrying a tray of glowing drinks. She glanced at Daniel with curious eyes. Many in the palace had never seen a human before. Some looked at him with fear, others with interest. He gave her a polite nod, but his thoughts stayed focused. He had to act before the trail went cold. As they turned another hallway, Daniel saw a group of healers heading toward the east wing. Their robes shimmered like liquid silver, a sign they were from the royal healing chamber. This was his chance. He slowed his pace, pretending to adjust his glove. Then he pointed down the opposite hall. "Guards," he said. "I saw someone earlier moving in that direction. Looked suspicious." The guards exchanged glances. One frowned. "You stay here? We will check." As they walked off, Daniel moved fast. He followed the healers quietly, keeping his steps light. They entered a large chamber guarded by armored soldiers. Inside, the air was filled with soft blue mist, healing energy. Through the glass wall, Daniel saw Princess Ilara lying on a crystal bed. Her skin was pale and her breathing weak, but she was alive. A healer stood beside her, checking her pulse. Daniel pressed his hand against the glass, trying to see if she was conscious. For a moment, her eyes fluttered open. She turned her head slightly and saw him. Their eyes met through the barrier. Her lips moved slowly. Daniel couldn't hear her, but he could read the words. She mouthed, "Don't trust them." Then the healer turned and she closed her eyes again. Daniel stepped back quickly as the guard near the door noticed him. "Human, you are not allowed here." Daniel raised his hands. "I was only checking if she's safe. Go back." The guard shouted. "Only royal staff are allowed." Daniel nodded and stepped away, hiding his frustration. The princess was alive, and she was trying to warn him. But who did she mean? Don't trust them. Was it the guards? The council? Or someone even closer? He walked back toward his post, deep in thought. He still had the small beacon in his pocket. It could be his key to uncovering the truth. But he needed someone who could help him decode it. The Palace Tech Division was full of alien engineers who wouldn't trust him. Yet there was one person who might. In the lower levels of the palace lived Rin, a half-human, half-Velaran mechanic. She worked with palace drones and systems but stayed away from politics. Daniel had met her once during a border inspection. She respected humans more than most. If anyone could scan the beacon safely, it was her. As night fell over Valora Prime, Daniel made his move. He slipped past the guards after their shift change, blending with the service crew. The lower halls were darker and quieter. Strange machines lined the walls, humming softly. Rin's workshop was hidden behind a metal door marked with glowing symbols. When Daniel entered, Rin looked up from her tools, her eyes widening. "Sergeant Cross? You shouldn't be here. The court's in lockdown." "I know," Daniel said, showing her the beacon. "I found this in the maintenance room near the throne. I need to know what it's sending." Rin took the small chip carefully. "This is human tech. Where did you get it?" "That's what I'm trying to find out," Daniel said. "Someone used it to harm the princess." Rin frowned and placed the chip under a scanner. Blue light swept across it. After a few moments, she looked up in shock. "This beacon isn't just sending, it's recording." It stored a signal trace. Whoever activated it sent a message off-world right after the princess collapsed. "Can you tell where it went?" Daniel asked quickly. Rin's fingers moved over the console. "Yes, but the code is strange. It's masked to look like it came from the human embassy." Daniel's heart sank. "They're framing us." Before Rin could reply, the workshop door slid open. Two armed guards entered, eyes glowing with suspicion. "Human," one said. "You are under arrest for leaving your assigned post." Rin stepped forward. "He did nothing wrong." The guard ignored her. "Orders from Captain Krith, you will come with us." Daniel didn't resist. Fighting would only make things worse. He gave Rin a silent nod, a promise to continue this later. As the guards escorted him out, his mind burned with questions. Someone had gone to great lengths to set him up. The beacon, the false signal, the Chancellor's secret meeting, all pointed to a bigger plot. Daniel was taken through the long corridors of the palace, his hands locked behind his back. The guards marched beside him without a word. Their glowing eyes and silent steps made the air feel heavy. He didn't resist. He knew that if he fought now, he would lose his only chance to clear his name. What mattered most was staying calm and thinking ahead. They brought him to the lower section of the palace, a cold chamber built of dark crystal walls. Inside, strange lights blinked above a chair made of steel. The guards pushed him down and stepped aside. Captain Krith entered, his tall armored frame reflecting the dim light. "Human," Krith said, his voice hard. "You were seen moving through restricted areas. You disobeyed direct orders, and now the princess still lies weak. Explain yourself." Daniel lifted his eyes to meet the captain's. "I followed a lead," he said firmly. "I found proof that someone used human tech to harm the princess. I was trying to find who did it." Krith's sharp eyes narrowed. "Human tech? Convenient story. Every time there is trouble, you blame others. Why would anyone in the royal court use your kind's tools? Because they want to make it look like we did it," Daniel said quietly. "They're trying to destroy the treaty. If you don't believe me, check the records near the throne. There's radiation left from human nanotech." My visor picked it up. The captain paused, considering his words. Then he turned to one of his guards. "Search the area. If you find nothing, this human will answer for false claims." The guard nodded and left. Krith turned back to Daniel. "If you are lying, no one will protect you." Daniel stayed silent. Deep inside, he hoped the captain would at least check. That trail was real, and if it proved his point, it might save his life. After some time, the door opened again. The guard returned, holding a small scanner. "Captain, he's right. There is faint energy on the floor near the throne. Same pattern as human devices." Krith's expression darkened. "So, someone used forbidden tech inside the royal hall." He looked back at Daniel. "How do I know this is not your doing?" Daniel met his gaze steadily. "If I did it, why would I tell you where to find it?" Krith said nothing. For a long moment, the two stood in silence. Then the captain turned to his guards. "Release him, but he remains under watch. The queen will decide his fate after we question the council." The guards unlocked his cuffs. Daniel rubbed his wrists but didn't relax. He knew he had bought time, not freedom. Still, it was a start. When he was led back toward the upper halls, Daniel's thoughts turned to Rin. She had the beacon. If the guards had followed him there, they might have searched her workshop. He needed to check if she was safe. But first, he wanted to see the court again. Maybe the chancellor would show another sign of guilt. The next morning, the council gathered in the royal chamber. The queen sat silently, her face pale with worry. The healers had told her the princess was still alive, but her energy remained unstable. The nobles whispered among themselves. Some demanded answers. Others called for an end to the treaty. Chancellor Varen stepped forward to speak. "Your Majesty, it is clear this collapse was caused by foreign influence. We must reconsider our alliance with the humans." Daniel stood near the wall listening. He noticed the way Varen's hands moved behind his back. Calm, rehearsed, almost too perfect. The Chancellor's voice carried false sorrow. Daniel could see through it. But before anyone could respond, a loud tone echoed through the hall, a security alert. A holographic display appeared in the center, showing a transmission trace. The captain stepped forward and spoke. "A secret signal was sent from inside the palace yesterday. It was masked to appear from the human embassy. But our scanners have uncovered the truth. It was redirected from within the court's own network." The room fell silent. Varen's face twitched for the briefest moment, but he quickly composed himself. Daniel saw it clearly on that small flicker of fear. The queen looked around. Who would dare such a thing? No one answered. Daniel wanted to step forward, to reveal everything, but he knew without proof it would only cause more doubt. He kept quiet, watching closely. Later that day, when the council dispersed, Daniel managed to slip away toward the lower halls. The guards were busy with the investigation, giving him a chance to move freely. He reached Rin's workshop again. The door was half open. Inside, Rin was waiting. "You came back," she said softly. "I've decoded part of the beacon. It sent a single name." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Whose name?" She turned the screen toward him. The glowing text read, "Varen." Daniel stared at it. Everything suddenly made sense, and the false signal, the human tech, the attempt to break the treaty. The Chancellor had planned it all. But if Daniel revealed this now, Varen would deny it and destroy the evidence. He took a slow breath. We need to show this to the Queen. But first we must stay alive long enough to reach her. Outside the workshop, heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. Someone was coming. Rin looked at him nervously. They've found us. Daniel turned toward the door, his mind clear. The truth was in his hands now, and he would not let it be silenced. Daniel and Rin barely had time to move before the first guards reached the workshop. The door shuddered under the impact of their energy batons. Rin grabbed the beacon and hid it under her coat, while Daniel stepped in front of her, his hands raised, ready to negotiate. The guard's leader, a large Valoran named Brack, stepped inside. Step aside, human, he said, his voice cold. You are under arrest again. This time there will be no leniency. Daniel stayed calm. I am not resisting, he said firmly. But you need to know something important. The Chancellor, Varen, he's behind the attack on the princess. He used human tech to make it look like humans were responsible. The guards exchanged glances. Brack raised an eyebrow. Why should we believe a human's word over the Chancellor's? Because, Daniel said, his voice steady, I have proof. He nodded toward Rin. She slowly revealed the beacon, now connected to her portable scanner. The device projected a holographic trail of the signal. The transmission started from within the court and ended in the palace communications hub, all masked to appear as if it came from the human embassy. The scanner highlighted the signature, Varen's personal coding style. Brack leaned closer, studying the evidence. His mandibles clicked as he muttered, This cannot be ignored. Daniel pressed on. The princess is alive but still weak. If Varen succeeds, he will control the court and ruin the peace treaty. You need to help me reach the Queen before it's too late. Brack straightened and nodded slowly. Then we have little time. Follow me. The three of them moved quickly through hidden passages Rin had used for maintenance. Daniel's mind raced, thinking of every possible obstacle. Varen would have spies everywhere. One wrong step could cost them everything. They emerged near the throne room, now empty but heavily guarded. Daniel and Rin crouched behind a column. The Queen's aides moved past, speaking in hushed tones. Daniel signaled Rin to hold the beacon's scanner tightly. Its data could convince the Queen if they reached her in time. Daniel spotted a familiar figure, Krith, the captain, walking toward the throne room. He was alone for a moment, giving them a rare chance. Daniel whispered, We follow him. He trusts me enough now. We can reach the Queen if we are careful. They moved silently, keeping the shadows as cover. The crystal floors reflected their forms, but the dim light hid them. Every second felt like an eternity. When they reached the Queen's chamber, a guard checked the door. Daniel stepped forward. Captain Krith, this is urgent. The princess's life, the treaty, and the palace itself are at risk. Varen is behind the attack. You need to listen. Krith's eyes narrowed, but he allowed them inside. The Queen sat on her crystal throne, her hands trembling slightly. The healers had just left, saying Alara's condition was stable but still weak. Daniel bowed slightly and showed the beacon's projection. The Queen's eyes widened as the holographic trail revealed Varen's coded transmission. This cannot be, she whispered. He has betrayed us. And framed the humans? Yes, Your Majesty, Daniel said. He wants to destroy the peace treaty. He used human technology to harm the princess and hide his involvement. I have proof here. The Queen reached for the beacon. The small device shimmered under her touch, confirming what Daniel said. We must act quickly, she said. Call the council. Varen cannot be allowed to manipulate them further. Rin stepped forward, quietly explaining the details of the signal and the coding signature. The Queen listened carefully, nodding. Good work. I see now why the princess trusted you, human. We will stop him together. Daniel felt a surge of relief, but knew this was only the beginning. Varen had influence and loyal followers. Exposing him would not be easy. They needed to move carefully and decisively. The Queen summoned Captain Krith and a few trusted guards. You will accompany Daniel and Rin to confront Varen, she ordered. Do not let him escape or destroy the evidence. As they prepared to leave, a soft chime echoed from the healing chamber. Daniel glanced toward it. Ilara's eyes opened, glowing faintly with life. She looked at him and whispered, I knew you would find the truth. He nodded silently, feeling the weight of her trust. This was why he had to succeed. The princess's life, the peace of two civilizations, and the honor of humanity all rested on their next actions. Daniel, Rin, and the Queen's small team moved swiftly through the palace halls, shadows stretching in the dim light. Each step brought them closer to confronting Varen and revealing the traitor to the entire court. Daniel's heart raced, but his resolve was steady. He would not fail the princess. He would not fail humanity, and somewhere, hidden in the court, Varen's plan began to unravel, one carefully traced step at a time. The stage was set for the confrontation, and Daniel knew that the next moments could change the fate of the galaxy forever. Daniel led the Queen's team down the long halls of the palace, every step echoing against the crystal walls. The beacon in Rin's hands glowed softly, projecting the proof of Varen's betrayal. Daniel could feel the weight of the moment pressing on him. The court was counting on them. The princess was counting on them. Humanity's honor was counting on them. There could be no mistakes. Captain Krith walked ahead, eyes scanning the halls for any sign of ambush. The corridors were mostly empty, but Daniel knew Varen's loyalists could appear at any moment. Shadows shifted along the walls, making the team tense. Rin clutched the beacon tightly, ready to display the signal data whenever it was needed. When they reached the council chamber, the doors were slightly ajar. Voices murmured inside. Daniel motioned for silence. The Queen took a deep breath and pushed the doors open. The room fell silent instantly. The council members, including Varen, turned toward them. Varen's face was calm, his posture proud, as if he had expected them. "Your Majesty," he said smoothly. "To what do I owe this interruption?" The Queen held up the beacon. "This is why," she said firmly. The holographic projection illuminated the chamber, showing the coded signal trail leading directly back to Varen. The council gasped. The transmission's details could not be hidden. It was undeniable proof. Daniel stepped forward. He used human technology to make it look like humans were behind the princess's collapse. He wanted to ruin the treaty and seize control of the court. Varen's mandibles clicked in irritation, but he remained composed. "This is preposterous. You offer nothing but a human's word." Rin quickly added, "It's not just words." The beacon recorded the transmission and masked it as if it came from the human embassy. The coding style matches only one person, Varen himself. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some council members leaned forward, studying the projection. Krith's eyes scanned the room, remaining alert. He knew the danger. One wrong move and Varen could strike again. Varen's voice grew sharper. "You accuse me of treachery in front of the entire council? You have no proof that I acted alone." Daniel's jaw tightened. "It doesn't matter if you acted alone or with accomplices. The signal proves the attack originated here in the palace and was made to blame humans. That is the truth. You cannot deny it." The Queen stepped forward, her authority radiating across the room. "Enough. I see the evidence with my own eyes. Varen, your actions have endangered the princess, the treaty, and our people. You are under arrest." Varen's eyes flashed with anger. "You cannot do this. You cannot control the council without me." Krith raised his voice, commanding the guards. "Seize him." The armored soldiers moved swiftly, surrounding Varen before he could react. He struggled, but the guards held him firmly. Daniel's heart pounded. The threat was still alive, but Varen's power had been contained. The council members whispered in shock. Some had believed Varen's lies before, but now the truth was undeniable. The Queen nodded at Daniel. "You have done well, human. You saved the princess and prevented a great betrayal. Humanity has earned respect today." Daniel felt a surge of relief, but he didn't relax completely. Varen's network of allies could still act. He had to ensure the palace was secure, and the princess remained safe. Rin moved beside him, scanning the chamber for any unusual energy signatures. Everything appeared normal now, but she stayed vigilant. Outside the council chamber, the healing chambers awaited. Daniel led the way, his mind focused on Alara. When he entered, he found her resting, but her eyes brightened when she saw him. She tried to sit up, but Daniel gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now," he said quietly. "Varen is caught and the court knows the truth." Alara smiled faintly. "I knew you would find out," she whispered. Her voice was weak but full of trust. Daniel nodded, feeling the weight of her faith in him. The Queen entered the chamber, followed by Krith and a few guards. "Alara," she said softly, "you are safe. The traitor is in custody and the peace treaty will proceed." Alara looked around at the group, then at Daniel. "Thank you," she said simply. Her eyes held a quiet strength that reminded Daniel why he had chosen to serve her. The team spent the next hours ensuring that Varen's allies were tracked and monitored. Daniel worked alongside Krith Rin and the Queen's trusted guards to secure the palace's communications and defensive systems. Every step was deliberate. Every precaution mattered. The danger was not over, but the immediate threat had passed. Daniel stepped outside onto the palace balcony. The twin suns were rising again, casting gold and silver light across Valora Prime. He breathed deeply, feeling the calm after the storm. The princess was alive, the court was safe, and humanity had proved its loyalty. As he looked toward the horizon, he realized that trust and courage were stronger than deception and fear. And for the first time in many long hours, he allowed himself to feel hope. The battle was not over, but they had won the first and most important victory. Daniel knew there would be more challenges ahead, but he was ready. The princess's trust, the queen's respect, and the honor of humanity were now intertwined, and he would not let them down. The palace was quiet, the suns shining, and the promise of a better future began to feel real. The days after Varen's arrest were tense, but filled with careful restoration. Daniel moved through the palace alongside the Queen's trusted guards, checking security systems, reviewing communications, and making sure no hidden threats remained. The court was slowly returning to normal, yet whispers of betrayal still lingered in the halls. Every noble seemed to glance at the humans now with curiosity instead of suspicion, as if Daniel's courage had opened their eyes to a new truth. Princess Ilara's health improved steadily under the care of the royal healers. Daniel visited her every day, though from a respectful distance, making sure she had privacy and rest. She smiled faintly whenever he entered, her glowing eyes now brighter and steadier. There was a quiet strength in her, even in recovery, and Daniel admired it more than ever. One morning, as sunlight spilled across the crystal floors, Ilara called him over. She sat up, supported by soft cushions, and gestured for Daniel to come closer. "You saved me," she said simply, her voice calm yet full of meaning. "Not just from Varen, but from the fear I carried alone. You believed me when others doubted. You acted when no one else could." Daniel felt a warmth in his chest. "I did what anyone loyal would do," he said. "I just listened when you needed someone to trust." Ilara's gaze softened. "Humans are not always seen this way," she said. "But I have learned something from you. Courage is not in strength alone, but in protecting what is right, even when everyone else fears the truth." Daniel nodded. "And loyalty is not about race or rank. It's about the choices we make. I made mine a long time ago." The Queen entered then, accompanied by Krith. "The court is ready for the peace ceremony," she announced. "The princess will stand once again, this time fully aware of who supports her." Daniel glanced at Ilara. She smiled faintly, determination in her eyes. "I am ready," she said. The court gathered in the great hall once more. The nobles whispered, some in admiration, others still uncertain. Daniel stood near the center, close enough to act if anything went wrong, but respectful of his position. The twin suns streamed through the crystal domes, illuminating the hall with golden and silver light. Ilara entered, radiant and steady. Every eye turned toward her. She walked with grace and confidence, the events of the past days giving her an air of unshakable calm. When she reached the center of the hall, she paused and looked directly at Daniel. A small nod of acknowledgement passed between them, a silent message of trust and gratitude. She turned to the council, her voice clear and strong. "Let this ceremony be a testament to truth, to courage, and to loyalty. The peace treaty will proceed because those who serve honestly have protected it, and those who betray will be held accountable." Murmurs rippled through the court, some nobles bowing in respect, others silent in shame. Daniel noticed that even Varen's previous supporters were cautious now, the evidence against him impossible to deny. The Queen stepped forward and completed the formal signing of the treaty, her hand steady on the document. Once the ceremony concluded, the nobles began to disperse. Daniel stayed close to Ilara, watching as the court celebrated the renewed alliance between the Valorans and humans. The tension that had gripped the palace for days began to lift. The treaty was not just words on paper anymore. It was proof of trust, of collaboration and of shared courage. Later, as the palace quieted and the crowds moved away, Alara walked with Daniel on the upper balcony. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky with brilliant streaks of orange and purple. "Do you see that?" she asked softly, pointing to the horizon. "Even after darkness, light always returns," Daniel smiled. "I see it. And I see that the future can be better, if people choose it." Alara looked at him thoughtfully. "You have changed the way my people see humans. Not through words, but through action. That is far more powerful than any treaty alone." Daniel felt a quiet pride. "And you've reminded me why loyalty and courage matter. Not for glory, but for protecting those who trust us." The two stood together in silence, watching the suns sink beyond the horizon. The palace behind them glimmered in the fading light, a symbol of resilience, truth, and hope. The danger was gone, Varen's betrayal exposed, and the princess safe. The court had witnessed humanity's strength in honor, loyalty, and courage. Daniel knew there would be challenges ahead: diplomacy, negotiations, and threats from beyond Valora Prime. But he also knew something else: the choices of one determined human, guided by loyalty and courage, could inspire trust and change even in the hearts of a galaxy full of aliens. Alara finally spoke again, her voice calm and steady. "Thank you, Daniel." "For everything," he nodded, looking out at the horizon. "No thanks needed. I did what had to be done. That's what being human means." As night fell and the first stars appeared in the sky, the palace stood quiet and strong. The twin suns were gone, but their warmth lingered, much like the courage and trust that Daniel had brought to the court. The story of the princess, the traitor, and the human guard would be remembered for generations, a testament to bravery, loyalty, and the truth that even one person can make the difference between chaos and hope.